Now, what are some of the consequences of the growth of slavery? Well, we have an emergence of a strict racial caste system. Interracial relationships were illegal in southern colonies. That's unlike, for instance, the Spanish Empire, where you saw a caste system, but it was a racially diverse caste system with groups like mestizos and mulattoes. It's the status of the mother, not the father, that would determine whether a child is a slave or not. So if the mother was a slave, that mother's children would automatically become slaves, regardless if the father was free or slave. It did not matter. Now, in some areas of the West Indies, slaves made up the majority of the population. More of the people living there were slaves. So this will lead to strict slave codes to regulate their behavior. Now, let's talk about slave resistance. Most slave resistance came in covert forms, and that's running away, that's breaking tools, that's faking sickness. Rebellions did happen, and there's a couple you have to know, but they really did not happen often. There was some overt, whether it's through sabotage or rebellion. The Stono Rebellion in 1739 from South Carolina, in which a group of slaves killed many whites and tried to flee to Spanish Florida where they would be free. And Nat Turner's Rebellion in 1831, which this contemporary drawing from that time illustrates. This was a slave rebellion in which Nat Turner and many others killed whites in South Carolina and rebelled. And Nat Turner and many of his followers were killed. And as a result of all these rebellions, it will lead to more strict slave codes. There's also an emergence of surrogate families when families were broken up due to the slave trade, which is one of many horrific parts of slavery. Also, there's a blend of African and American culture and religions, and African slaves were not given their freedom in the Declaration of Independence, under the Articles of Confederation, or the Constitution. So even though this revolution was fought, slaves did not benefit from it and receive their independence. So there is over time increased calls for abolition. For example, in 1780, there's Pennsylvania's Gradual Emancipation Law, which gradually outlawed slavery. William Lloyd Garrison, the same year that Nat Turner's rebellion happened in Virginia, he was a Northerner who published a weekly newspaper called The Liberator, in which he called for the immediate and uncompensated end to slavery. And this will be published for 34 straight years until the Civil War ends and the 13th Amendment is ratified. Now, under the Articles of Confederation, the Northwest Land Ordinance of 1787, that does ban slavery in the Northwest Territory, which includes Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin.